Welcome to Ask Lynn, everyone. Today with me I have Kim, and so I'm going to let Miss Kim take it away and explain more about what she does, and we're just going to have a natural conversation like we always do. So, welcome, Kim.
Hi, Wynn. Thank you so much for having me on your show. This is a pleasure. I've listened to some of your podcasts, and I just find your conversations delightful. So thank you for the opportunity. Um, Talking about me, so I'm a counselor by education, and I've studied the work of Dr. William Glasser, the psychiatrist who developed reality therapy and choice theory, for over 30 years. It's been most of my adult life. And from that, I've developed my own technique that I use in my coaching called mental freedom. And mental freedom is based on choice theory, but it's about applying it into your personal and professional life so you don't have to deal with all the angst that happens when things knock us off our square, right? We're trying to be who we want to be, and life happens and changes things for us, and can create a lot of emotional turmoil. And when you think the way that mental freedom teaches people to think, you can pretty much stay calm in any storm. So that's what I do now, and I love it. I'm an author, I'm a speaker, and I'm a coach. I coach people rather than counsel because I'm on the road all the time. At least I was before coronavirus speaking, and I do most of my work over the computer.
So, okay. Now, Kim, this is not part of my baseline questions, but I'm going to ask this anyway.
Okay.
COVID first When coronavirus first hit, we all went into a state of shock, including me, including me. So, based on what you're talking about, freedom theory, how could someone use freedom theory to tackle COVID?
Well, that's a great question because I did have programs on the internet where I was helping people do just that. And I wrote some articles about it, and I even did a podcast around it. So I think that the main thing in any situation is to take stock. Well, let me say the first step is to look at what's going on and ask yourself this question: is there anything I can do to change this? If the answer to that is no, then stop obsessing about it. You can't do anything about it. Your next step should be to accept it. That's step number two. But if you can do something about it, then you should do what you can do. You'll feel more empowered when you're taking steps and actions towards what you can do. So for me, with coronavirus, I couldn't stop the virus, but I could stay in. I could wash my hands. I could work at stopping touching my face. That's a habit I have. I find I always have my hand to my face, so that was a little harder because that's a pretty ingrained habit. I could only go out when absolutely necessary and take all the precautions when I came back home. That's what I could do, and that's what I did do. And to worry about things that haven't happened yet or what could go wrong, you're losing the current moment that we're in. We could have so much joy and happiness in the current moment. I ended up, I say, having the amazing pleasure, but also the frustration because it's always two sided. I had gone to visit my mother in the beginning of March, and my mother and I have not lived together for 17, since I was 17. That's been over 40 years ago. And my mother, I decided I would spend the whole month with her, which is longer than I've ever spent since I was 17. And then, of course, coronavirus happened, and all of my work got canceled. I had nothing to get home to. I live in Chicago. My mother lives in Florida, and it was March, so it wasn't hard to figure out I might as well just stay here. And I did, and I could have been miserable because my mother and I aren't all that compatible in a small living space. We love
Mhm.
each other, we get along okay, but day to day, it's a challenge for both of us. So I could have focused on that part, or I could have focused on my mother's going to be 81 years old, and she's very healthy, and she's very mindful and together. And we had time. I was there till June. We had time together that wouldn't have happened if not for coronavirus. So I immediately went into part of mental freedom is when there's nothing you can do about it, you accept it. And then I have a belief, and it's yet to be disproven, that in every painful event or experience in our life, there's equal positivity associated with it. But most of the time, we don't see it because we're so focused on the pain. When you can take your focus off the pain and look at what are I call it the glow, the gifts, lessons, opportunities, and wisdom that you can get from the situation. And when you focus on the glow, it doesn't take the pain away, but it does neutralize it so that you're not a hostage anymore and you can move forward with your life with positivity. And that's what I did with COVID. I looked at the glow. I was amazed at how fast our environment rebounded. I was amazed at how people started to think of the older people in their lives and the ones that have compromised immune systems and started reaching out in a way they never would have if life was going on as always. So there were a lot of positive things that came out of coronavirus. There were also tragedies. But the positivity and the tragedy are equal. I believe in balance, and I think it's always there. The question is whether or not we're able to find it.
The yin and the yang, and um, the old adage goes carpe diem, seize the day. Well, in this case, carpe diem seize the time we do have with loved ones that are not, I repeat, are not in the hospital due to COVID. Because
Absolutely.
seize the day that we do have, that we're up, walking, we're up, talking, we're up, um, doing stuff. So what if you have to get along with your mother for a month? At least you still have your mommy,
That's
whether she's
right.
your biological mommy or stepmommy. And in my case, she's a stepmommy, but because I lost my biological mother in 2010, but I lost my dad also in 2019.
Mm.
And so what COVID has taught me is just cherish the people around you.
Yes. Yes. There's so many things that people have gained from COVID, and it's tragic. The people who've lost their lives. I don't want to diminish that in any way. That
No,
was
no,
tragic. Right.
the,
But if you're still here and you're still surviving, you could be thriving if you only accept the situation, do what you can, and look for the positivity in the situation. Find your glow because it's going to be different for everyone.
no, and my goal was accepting, okay, I lost my job due to COVID, but um, God has put journalism in my past, so I might as well focus on that.
I know, and look at what you're doing. It's amazing.
I might as
I
well focus on inspiring others and being a voice for the voiceless.
Right, and I've had time because now I left my mom in June, so I spent 3 months with her. Came home, spent a couple of weeks with my family. I don't live with them. I have two grown children who are married and they have babies. So I have eight grandchildren. So I went and spent time with them about 3 weeks. And then I came back to Chicago. So now I'm in Chicago. I live alone and I am someone, I'm an extrovert, so being alone is not particularly great for me. But what I've done is I've turned that time into creative time. So as an entrepreneur, I've been developing products and I've been expanding what I'm offering with mental freedom. So that's time I never would have had. I was always on a plane going to the next speaking gig. So it's really it I won't go as far as to say it's fun. I wouldn't call it fun, but it has certainly been not as painful as it would be otherwise. It's been really good for me to be able to have the time to slow down, to reflect, to prepare, to make this mental freedom launch be even better than it would have been if I just threw it together hastily like I usually do. So I've been really
And
grateful.
for me, I took the time to slow down, re let's just say reorganize my job life to be a full-fledged journalist and focus on my degree instead of I wasn't tossing my degree to the side. I was more focused on the kids and my day job. I was in education. But since COVID hit, I'm like, okay, you need to now, since God put you on a different path, you need to now focus on what your true calling is, which is journalism.
That's right. Passion. We need to find our passion. I'm in 100% agreement with that. A lot of people are just kind of sleepwalking through their days, going to a job they really don't like, just to pay the bills. And I believe that in every single one of us, there is a passion. And that passion is always, in my opinion, connected to helping other people. So, whatever you're doing, whatever you're contributing, you need to find the link to how that helps others because that's what a true passion is. It's not just if you have a voice like Celine Dion and all you do is sing in your shower, that is not honoring your God given gift.
No,
You need to share it with other people because that's why you have it. It's to help others.
my
So,
my God-given gift is communication and educating people about a small little green monster that they didn't know about before they until you meet a person with cerebral palsy, you don't know. You don't know about the little green monster that attacks me every single day, and I get up and deal with it. And yeah, during COVID, it's been an interesting experience dealing with that little green monster. And the reason why I call it the little green monster is because um, the national awareness color for cerebral palsy is green. So, yes.
okay. So what is the green monster for you? How does it attack you? What does it say?
The green monster, unless I don't get a very nice good night to sleep, the green monster will attack. Today, it's nice and calm because I did some reflection stuff yesterday, and I today it's nice and calm. But there were days at the beginning of COVID that back in March that my cerebral palsy went nuts because it doesn't like change. And Kim, I'm like you, I'm an extrovert, I'm a social butterfly. And so me being at home for 5 months didn't help. And I'm getting used to it, but at the same time, I know what my God given talent is. My God given talent is journalism.
And you're learning to use it in the midst of COVID. So you're
Yep.
flexible, you're able to pivot. You're not having to talk to people in person. You can do stuff online and that's what really needed to happen. The people who are sitting around thinking, "Oh, this is going to pass. This will magically disappear. It's not going to be here. Once the summer comes, everything will be back to normal." I thought those things too, but I also looked around. It's like that book Who Moved My Cheese. You
Yeah.
can't just sit in your spot and think that and ignore all the changes going around or life is going to pass you by. So I really applaud you for what you've done cuz I pretty much am still doing what I always did. I just moved a little bit more of my operations to online. You did an about face, really. You're still doing education though, Win. That hasn't
I
left
did
you.
it though. I did it though. Base skip. I went from education in the classroom. Um, one day I email the next day I was on a business trip. I realized in the middle of Chicago O'Hare International Airport that I was coming home to no job. I was coming home to a bigger fish to fry called Olver, and I was coming home to being in self quarantine for five for 5 months or however long it took. And so when I emailed my boss at the time, I don't have him, but I when I emailed my ex-boss, I said, "Well, do you want me to come in? Do you want me to get masked up and come in and help you guys out?" He goes, "We don't have a plan. We are just coming off spring break, you know that, but we don't have a plan." I'm like, "Bye, guys." I am like, "Well, I know where I sit. I know where I sit. I fought you guys on handicapped accessibility for almost 33 years. They didn't listen to me. And my big thing is I want to feel useful in any work that I do." And I said, "Bye, guys." They were like, "What?" And I said, "I will not be returning. If you need me on a desperate basis, I may reconsider, but I will not be returning."
Yeah, that's a hard decision to make, but I think when you make it for the right reasons, it can be the best decision in the world because now you're able to operate more fully in your passion, and that is what life is really all about.
So, Kim, if your best friend had to write a book about you, what would the title be?
I have a friend who has told me I need to write my own autobiography, and she wants me to title it The Purple Snowflake. And she wants me to title it The Purple Snowflake because purple is my favorite color and because snowflakes are all unique and different. And she sees me as a very unique individual. I think differently from most people, but also I'm able to find the uniqueness in other people. So one of the things I do in my mission as an author, I help other authors get their message out there. So a lot of times, especially women, a lot of times I'll be talking with someone and I'll be hearing in their message, often in their pain, right? The tragedy, like you talk about your green monster. Everybody has a green monster, whatever that is. For me, it was my husband dying when he was only 37 years old and leaving me with two teenage boys to raise. That was my main pain point. Then later I had a few more pain points, but taking that pain and turning it into a book that can then help others is something that I do. So I always listen for those unique opportunities. The person maybe never said that they wanted to write a book, but I think you have a book in you. And it doesn't mean you have to write it. It just means be aware that the potential is there, the opportunity is there, if it's something that you want to do. So I guess it would be the purple snowflake.
The Purple Snowflake. And if you had to move and only take five things with you, humans and pets included, and if you had to move and only take five things with you, what would they be?
Oh, great question. So I would love to say I'd bring my sons with me, but that would mean their families would be without them. So I can't do that. So what I would want to take with me are um, certainly my phone, my computer, and my photo albums from before digital photos.
Yes, before digital photos, people were talking about Kodak.
Right,
And
right.
millennials are like, "What?" We just spoke French. Google was Kodak millennials, and
The
it was
Kodak
English.
moment, right?
Kodak moment, and it
Now
was
they're all Kodak
English.
moments.
Now they're all Kodak moments.
They're all iPhone moments.
So the Kodak moment has turned into the mask moment.
Yes, yes, that's true. But I
And
have a lot of photographs from prior generations,
yeah,
things that I would want to keep with me that couldn't possibly be replaced. That's
I
what
I
I
do
would
too.
take.
I have a lot of photos that were prior COVID, and so yeah, not the mask photos uh,
Right.
in our photo albums there. But I want to ask you, what is your favorite book?
Well, that's a hard question to answer. I have many, but if I had to narrow it down to one, I would say Happy for No Reason by Marcy Shimoff. And I would say that book because as I read it, I felt like this is how I think, this is what I believe, and it so resonated with me. And then I would have to pay tribute to one of my big mentors. I would also have to say anything by Brene Brown. I just love Brene Brown. I think she also is one of my soul sisters from another life because we think a lot alike and we talk about the same things. So I can't just narrow it down to one.
Okay, 2 is perfectly fine, and you guys, you can go s after you listen to this podcast, go pick pick up Kim's book recommendation or book recommendations and also recommendations, I should say, and look up Renee Brown's podcast, by the way. It's all over the place. And so, Kim, what is your morning routine?
Well, my morning routine varies. During COVID, would you like to know that, or would you like to know before COVID?
I
Because
would like to
they're
know
different.
both. I would like to know both.
Okay, so before COVID, my morning routine was incredibly unpredictable because it depended on how early I had to start and what my day was like. And it often had to do with whether I had to catch a plane or whether I was speaking that day and that kind of thing. But when I have when my time is my own, when it's not scheduled by other things, I like to have a slow start to my morning. So usually I'll go through my email and my social media. I do that first thing in the morning to get it out of the way. Then I do some reading. I like to read for 30 minutes. Then I have a vibrating plate machine, so I get on that. It's 10 minutes. And I Um, I also, after my vibrating plate machine, I sit down and I do 20 minutes of meditation, and then I start with whatever my work tasks are for the day. I'm on a intermittent fasting schedule now. I do one meal a day, and I usually do that around 11 or 12 in the morning or middle of the day. So I'm not thinking about breakfast first thing in the morning. So I do that until 11 or 12, and then I have my lunch, and then it's more work in the afternoon. So
Oh,
and that's
good.
yeah, that's it.
Well, good. And Kim, as we wrap this interview up, do you have any questions for me?
Yes, I really, really do win, and I hope this isn't any kind of an offensive question. I
Oh,
do
go ahead.
I do a lot of diversity training, and I'm very aware of racial issues, and I'm aware of LGBT community issues. I don't have a lot of experience with physical handicaps or challenges. So I'm wondering, you are a person with cerebral palsy, and here you are on the internet broadcasting a podcast to quite a wide audience. So how did you get there? How did you know that you could go to college and get a degree and work at a school for 30 some years? Who supported you? Not financially, but emotionally and mentally. Who, if anyone, was it all internal? I'm really curious about that.
Well, certainly, it certainly wasn't my mom. And I say this, God knows I love my mom, but my biological mom. But surprise, surprise, my stepmom is more supportive of my dreams of being a journalist than my biological mom was. And I just think because she immigrated here from Canada, um, she immigrated here from Canada and then immigrated to the Bahamas and then grew up in the Bahamas and then immigrated here. So we're talking about a immigration mother who moved to the U.S. for love to basically marry my dad in the States. And so by the time it got to when what do you want to be when you grow up, I had three choices given to me by my mom, who was the immigrant. And I have spoken about my story publicly, and I have also spoken to other immigrant children as well. And they tell me the exact same thing. My choices were teacher, lawyer, doctor. Well, doctor was out of the question because of cerebral palsy purposes. I could not be a good doctor. Lawyer was too mentally intense. And at that time, I was recovering from a back operation. And I had a friend come over to see me. And by the way, this friend and I are still friends to this day. And at that time, the friend goes to me, I'm getting a job in education, and I understand you're getting a education degree. Now, granted, I was, and now a lot of people don't know this, but I was going to not use that education degree. I was just going to have it in my back pocket just in case I needed it. But my true calling was journalism. I was going to switch majors at my local community college. Oh, no, but that didn't happen. And the next thing I know, my mom is, my biological mom is literally standing at the end of my bed. My friend is on the bed with me because she and I are talking. I'm flat on my back after this surgery, trying to recover and be social. And my my mom goes, "Oh, yes, Lynn is going into education. Give her the job." And I'm like, "Okay, mom." So I trumps right off to a volunteer job, which I don't know whether I hated it or it hated me. I don't know. But I lost my job in 2009, and then I lost my mom in 2010, and I tried education again. I should have tried journalist back in 2010, but I knew by the time my mom died, I knew exactly what my next career move was going to be if education failed on me, and of course it did. So I had a book all planned out for my first book, and then I had that all planned out. She actually, my biological mom, gave me the title when she was in a mentally induced coma. I asked her a question telepathically, and I said, "Can I get the blessing to write a book?" She goes, "Yes, as long as you don't make it a tell-all." And well, all the family secrets. And so, and I'll even give you the name for it. And I'm looking at a cover of it right now. She actually gave me the name for it. So from the time span, and she was in the hospital for months, um, a 1 solid month dealing with a celiac implant, aneurysm, and then ended up dying of meningitis. And so, but I I knew what my calling was going to be after watching my mom die. And then once my dad died, I again had that heart stopping moment of, okay, that's it. I'm out of education. And if he came, if my dad came home, my responsibility was to take care of him, not worry about a day job so much. My responsibility would have turned into a caregiving responsibility. And that never happened. But at the same time, education, I was done with educating kids, and education because of COVID kicked me right out the door. But God had set me up for a plan in journalism.
That's an awesome story. As I listened to it, I had two things, well, three things really, if I could just follow up with those three things. As you talk about your mom passing and your dad subsequently passing, I'm wondering if part of the glow for you was the freedom to pursue your passion where you didn't feel free before. Just just curious about that.
Well, you're probably right. You're probably right. And it was the it part of the growth for me was to somehow get walk away from education and um focus on my true passion, and which is journalism. And see, I'm not going to a day job that I don't like. I'm doing a day job that I love, and if the payments came in, that would be nice, but if they don't, they don't. I'm doing it because I'm passionate about it, and I love to write, and I love to share people's stories.
Awesome. I'm also curious about the title of your first book that your mom gave you. What was that?
I win. I,
I Win.
comma, WIN. And yes, Win is my legal name, you guys. No shortcuts there. And so she gave me that title, and a lot of people they're thinking, "Oh, Win just used her name." No, a lot of people don't know that story. Um, that my mom actually gave me the title of my book.
That's awesome. And my last thing, just if I could shove this out, as I was listening to you, I thought of another title for a book. If you're interested, you can take it. If not, throw it away. But the title that came to me was Winning with Win.
Oh, yeah. No pun intended there, Kim. No pun
No, pun
intended.
intended for sure, because you are winning. You
Nope.
are winning, and you could help other people. If you want to, you're already helping other people with your
No, no.
podcast.
Well, maybe I'll do a book on journalism. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do a book on journalism. I don't know. And so, Kim, where could people find you if they want to get a hold of you and nicely socially stalk you?
Okay. So my name is Kim Olver, and that's Olver. There's no I. It's not Oliver. So people have to look for Olver on Facebook. They'll find me on Facebook under The Relationship Center. Also, Instagram is The Relationship Center. LinkedIn is Kim Olver. YouTube is Kim Olver. And you can email me at kimolver@gmail.com.
Yeah. And you guys, I will be back with more fabulous interviews and as I said, we're kicking the butt on this math class. You guys have been, I don't know what you guys have been doing, but sending me good vibes on this math class. And so we're kicking butt on that. But as soon as I get over with that, I'll be back on a little bit more of a consistent interview basis, just because when you intensify a skill you're not used to, yeah, that is a trick and a half. But in college, you sometimes have to do a class that you don't like. But I will, as soon as I get this math class out of the way, I will be back on a more consistent basis. So thank you guys for hanging out with me, and I'll catch you guys next week when we have another fantastic interview. And I hope you guys enjoyed another fabulous episode of Ask Win. Thanks, see you guys. Bye, you guys.